Sounds, hey, we want to appreciate you guys hopping on here on this wonderful Tuesday night. Boy, is it a lot cooler than it was last week. I mean, here, at least here
Yes,
in the Central
definitely.
Valley, we're all trying to enjoy this better weather. Of course, it's going to get a heat up, but we're going to talk about some fire stuff tonight. That's an NFL recap of Week 2.
Let's
But
go.
first, let's hop right in and let's go ahead and give recognition to our sponsors. We have first of all, we have number one sports fan located in Tulare, Visalia, and Hanford. Then we also have Cali Built Graphics. It's located right here in Tulare, California. They can take care of all your needs to get your hats and shirts embroidered and all that good stuff. And last but not least, we have Black MP Living Water. Hop on the blackmp.com website, type in the sports lounge, and you'll get 35% off your order. So we want to give credit and give thanks to each one of those sponsorships that we hold currently. But hey, let's hop right into this and let's get the show going. And NFL recap, week 2. We had a lot of
Week
good
two.
games that happened out. But first and foremost, what was the big game that highlighted for you guys?
The biggest one for me was the
Capri.
Cowboys getting beat by the Saints. That
They didn't
44-14
get
was ridiculous. They got
19,
ridiculous.
44, 19. They got shellacked.
I have never seen that in my life, especially for the Saints. It made David Carr look like Drew Brees when he's not.
What about you, Mikey? What do you got?
Um, I'll just go with my Philadelphia Eagles losing. We
That was a
lost
good game.
to the Atlanta Falcons. Excellent game. Both sides of the ball. They were in prevent zone on the defensive side on the last drive that they were able to score on. And then we had an opportunity once again to win it and through an interception when we only needed 13 yards. Things I could take away from that game is obviously it's not finished for the Philadelphia Eagles. For those who think that it is, I've seen some great things coming out of that game, and you'll just see a better team next week. Must-win games. Next two games, Saints and Buccaneers, obviously. But you did see us lose a game. You did not see a Falcon win that game.
So
Nick
I'm
Saban.
going to agree with that one right there. You know, the shellacking that the Saints put on with against Dallas. But for me, the big one actually was the Raiders versus the Ravens.
Mm.
Mike, we've had this conversation quite a bit, and we've talked about how the Raiders are going to have a lot of boring games. And in all honesty, that one was probably a pretty boring game, especially at half. It was, I want to say 9-6 or something like that. It was a 3-point lead. Um, but the defense, man, I want to give recognition to that Raiders defense because they held Lamar Jackson to 247 in passing. Um, they held King Henry 85 yards, and by all means, most people would say, "Hey, 85, 85 yards rushing plus 45 yards from Lamar. That's a pretty dang good game, along with 247." But the key factor is Gardner Minshew actually he showed up and did what needed to be done and just moved the ball down the field the way that was needed. They didn't have it's not like he put up superstar numbers because by all means he did not. Um, but he did go for 30 for 38 with 276. There was just so you guys know, zero rushing. There was honestly, the Raiders had a total of 27 yards rushing as a team.
Hmm.
I mean, so everything was all in the
That's
air.
nothing.
Devontae Adams, huge game. 9 receptions, 110 yards. But the big thing that I've been saying since day one, and that of course is Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is showing that he can possibly become the next Rob Gronkowski as a receiving tight end, or a Travis Kelsey, because that's the style of play he has, coming out of Georgia. Um, but with Michael Mayers, um, that they took last year in the draft, he's going to be utilized as a blocking back, but he can catch the ball, but he just doesn't have the talent. They actually, when Drew Bowers was drafted, they're saying he could have possibly even been switched over to a wide receiver. He was that good. So, and a team that a lot of people have speculated to being Super Bowl contenders, beating them and causing the Ravens to go 0-2, and the Raiders are now 1-1. So that was a big game for me in week 2.
Love
Definitely,
it.
definitely.
Um, so I want to get into something big here before we go into who we think is going to for week 3. But one of the big topic that's been all over, not just Sports Center or on the sports channels itself, but all over all medias, whether it be social media, the news, whatever, is player safety. And obviously we saw Tua end up going down with his 3rd concussion. They have announced that he is going to be put under the IR. They've already done that. And it's going to give him a little more time to think about it. But my big thing is this, you guys. When does the NFL need to actually start implementing something of how many concussions you guys, a player can get, especially in such a short time span, and then the severity that he has had them? What do you guys think?
Yeah, so definitely we're talking about, player safety versus player choice. And this is a game that is done by professionals, right? So when you're asking a certain question of, when does a person get to come in and intervene on a player's choice to play the game. It's the same rules that apply to a boxer when a boxer signs a contract. It says in there if anything happens, injury, even up to death, it says up on that contract. It's a player's choice to step into that ring. So, I mean, I think the rules still apply here. I mean, it's no different. Should the NFL have its stipulations and on that? Well, I mean, how many players wouldn't be in the league anymore? If they were to step in. And I think you should just leave it as a medical decision, a family decision. Start with medical, then talk to your family, and then obviously talk to yourself and make the conscious decision if this is going to be the end of your career. Should Tua retire? As we all can sit back and we watch, and every time he gets touched, he gets concussion. We all can sit here and say, yeah, the dude needs to retire. If it was me, I would be done. But again, it's you can't take away from what the player's choice is. It's his opportunity, his life, and if he wants to step back on that field, it's really up to him. But I think it's mandatory. He's out for 4 games, right? I think the only stipulation that I would add to that would probably be, making that a little bit longer, making it maybe 6 weeks or 8 weeks, something like that, half a season. They could do that. But as far as making a person retire or making that person lose out on an opportunity, I think it's up to the doctors and then up to the family and then obviously up to yourself. That's my take.
What about you, Dupree? What do you think?
I feel kind of the same way. It really shouldn't be on the NFL to put a stipulation of like 3 or and you're out or however many concussion it is. It's really on how the player feels after the how many weeks they did it. I think 6 weeks are probably better. 8 weeks is probably way too long because then you're all the way into the season and it relies on the second string quarterback, which they may not even make playoffs with that second string quarterback because they only get play time during practice. So they don't know how to do a live game half the time. So by 8 weeks, that'd be too far long.
Yeah, but that also puts more value on the second string quarterback.
True,
It
it
does.
does. It does.
So now the value of 53 is now more valuable because of the fact that you have to perform now, right? As a second string quarterback, it's no longer you just throw in, Joe Flacco or whoever it may be coming off the couch. Now you're like really the draft begins to change. Things begin to change as you put that stipulation in of 8 games or so. It's like you need to draft accordingly to having that second string just as valuable as your starter.
Yeah, that does work for
Yeah.
that. But they still rely now more on starters more than ever. Like you don't really see a lot of QBs that come off second string, except for like a few, like only like what Tom Brady and like maybe a few others have came off the bench and really like excelled that way.
Yeah, Nick Foles. You forgot Nick Foles.
Well,
Yeah,
Nick
he won a
Foles
Super
too.
Bowl.
Yeah, but you don't see it a lot. So yeah, maybe that simulation, if they did that, maybe that would happen. But I
There,
don't
there,
think they would do that.
yeah, there wasn't a bear that stepped up. I don't think as a second string quarterback. Nah, we're throwing shots when Terry's not here. That's not fair.
That's you can't do that, man. He
You
can't
can't
defend
do that one.
himself.
Oh, dang, yeah. Anyways, yeah, go ahead, carry on.
So for me, with the whole thing with player safety, sorry, I'm like doing three things at one time. You know me. My big thing is when I'm looking at player safety, I think the NFL needs to implement, honestly, when it comes to concussion protocol, um, especially for a known history. I need, even though they put them on the IR, I do think that they need to look at player safety a little bit more so. Um, I'm all for the hard hitting, the old school football, but this coming from a guy, what a lot of people don't. I've had 7 concussions total in my life, and the slightest effect, the hit in the back of the head or anything, the way that Tua has happened, it just becomes more severe every time. It gets to the point where it's like his eyes will literally, I guarantee it because it's happened with me, is his eyes will actually start to roll into the back of his head. I've taken shots where it's even just play, joking around and a smack to the back of the head, and all of a sudden my eye will literally just start going. It's like, hold up, can't do that.
Right.
And that's where I think they need to start implementing, if it is a concussion style, especially a multiple offense. Not offense, multiple, consequence or outcome. They need to say, hey, look, you're going to a 6 game. It's like if you're on concussion number 2 in a year, that IR needs to not be 4 games. It needs to now go to 6 games. Your first concussion, hey, I think automatically you should have to sit out 4 games, even if you clear concussion protocol. If you don't clear that protocol, like that game, like, look, you're being kept out for a rest of this game. But if you have to go back and it takes you all the way until like Thursday to get cleared, you should automatically be put 4 games. If you get going to a second one, like how Tua had happen, it should now move up to 6 games. If you get into the third concussion, he should have to sit no matter what 8 games.
That makes sense.
The stronger, it's like, because you're now affecting, it takes longer for the brain to heal than everything that is going on. A lot of people don't realize my last concussion, you guys, was 7 years ago. I still have effects from it. And that's what people don't realize. It's like, it doesn't like, oh, magically it goes away. No, it does not go away. They're going to stay there. It's going to linger. So there's nothing a person can do about it. Once your brain has been bruised, it's a permanent thing. Yes, it might heal, but it's not 100%.
Right.
So that's where I think the NFL should do something a little better when it comes to the concussion protocol. If it takes you if you can't clear it that day, I think if you're being observed. If you're being observed for a concussion, they need to pull you for the game. I don't care if it's 14 minutes and 55 seconds left in the freaking first quarter. You got lit up on a kickoff. Guess what? You're going into protocol. We got to go ahead and test you, and you all of a sudden, you're cleared. You can go back. No. Because a player, you're playing in the NFL, NBA, MLB, hockey, whatever it is. That is their profession. That is their livelihood. They're out there to win. They want to be the best every time. They're not playing for, unless if you're LeBron, you're not playing for stats, but you're playing for a championship.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm the starter. There's a reason why I'm the starter, because I'm the best you got on this damn team. So this is what I'm going to go with. Right. So that's where I think, if you get hurt and go into percussion protocol, you have to miss the rest of that game. no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if it like I said, and if it takes you all the way to Wednesday or Thursday, and you can't clear it by that day, by honestly, if you can't clear it realistically by Wednesday, and they're saying, hey, you're not cleared, you can't play. Thursday needs to be cut off. You're going to be listed as out.
Yeah.
But then if you go into like the next week and you still haven't cleared it, and they have to toss you on the IR, no, 4 games for your first time, 6 for the second,
Right.
8 for the third. That's my personal opinion because they want to preach about player safety and all this other bull crap. Oh, you can't hip tackle. You can't do the whole drop hip tackle because it's affecting people's knees. Because no, what's causing what's causing the freaking knee problems in the NFL is the damn turf. That's the problem with that.
Yeah.
And honestly, guess what else that's affecting? It's affecting also the hits that guys are taking to the head when they're being driven into the ground. Two out of the 3 concussions that Tua received impact to the ground on turf. If anybody knows anything about turf, underneath what they do is they take it and they compact that crap down with literally it's a impact machine that has gravel, and then they put the turf on top of it with padding. The padding is only a quarter-inch thick.
Yeah.
So you're hitting solid ground. It's not like you're hitting at least grass has a little bit of a leeway.
Right.
So turf is ultimately your problem, not only with knee problems, ankle problems, all that other crap. It's also causing more concussions. So that's why NFL, if they need to do something about it, my personal opinion, they need to start putting more stricter, injury restrictiveness when it comes to concussions, especially because you can't be. How many people have passed away from CTE? I mean, I know I can give a couple big names.
Yeah, grip.
Yeah.
Junior Seau. I mean, all of these guys struggling with CTE. Well, what's that caused? That's caused from the blows, the impacts are going head to head.
Yeah.
Well, at least a head, when it's impacting, you're going to sit there. It's not like bam, you're stopped.
Yeah.
When they're going impact with the freaking ground, guess what? You're just going against brick wall. That wall ain't moving. It's solid as a rock.
Yeah.
So that's where it's there has to be something figured out when it comes to player safety. That's my
100%.
personal opinion on that.
Love it. All right, let's jump into our last question, and it's who do you guys got as your top 5 teams in the NFL right now? And I can hold on one second. I will start it. I'll start it by saying I got Buffalo at number 1. They came off of two great games, and one of them they had to come back from. And then number 2, I got Houston. Houston looks good on both sides of the ball. 3, I have the Chiefs, even though a lot of people, would say that they cheated their 2 games in, but they won 2 games, and it's Patrick Mahomes, and it is what it is. It's the same thing. It's the same thing that you got with the Patriots. Number 4, I still got my Philadelphia Eagles at number 4. We still played 2 spectacular games. We just didn't come away with the win the last time, or would be in a better position. And then my last one is going to be the Raiders, guys. My Raiders are going to be the last pick, only because they beat the Ravens, and I told you guys before that they're going to win a lot of boring games. But I do have the Raiders at number 5, and that's just for this week. It will change the next week. This is not saying this is forever. This is saying through 2 weeks. But that is my top 5. Let's go.
Dupree, what you got?
Oh, I was gonna go Mark.
I just said I want to hear Dupree's.
You want to hear mine?
I want to hear Dupree's.
Okay. Well, for mine, what I saw was Kansas City for one, because even though they still are up there, and I don't want them to be up there because they're in my division, they still show they can play even against Burrow, and he's healthy, and the team is still healthy right now. Cause that's been his trump card has been Burrow, because he's been the main one to beat him each time they've played. They've only been 3-1. So them, And then I would go the Bills too, because they're still showing they're good. They're still showing they're healthy, and the fact that they got their guy back that had what is it, had like a heart attack or something when he just came back and he's still playing good too.
DeMar
So
Hamlin.
yeah, Damar Hamlin, he's came back and still playing good. So I would give it to them as well.
Yeah.
And also, what does that do? I'll give it to my Chargers, even though they played a boring game. This one with the Panthers, because the Panthers aren't doing nothing. They haven't done nothing since Cam Newton's left. But they still are 2-0, and the fact that with them having a new coach and mostly we would flop between these games because it's an easy game and we think we would win it, but then all of a sudden for some reason it would be a big flop and we would lose. But we actually won this game, so it makes it look better that the team is actually different and new. I'm not saying we could be playoffs or Super Bowl, but we look better this year.
Okay. Who we got next?
Yeah.
Mark, go ahead.
Wait, hold on. Who do you got next? That was 3.
That's 3. 4.
There's 2 more.
4. I'll give it to the Eagles. They're still right up there, even though they lost their center. They still got enough people to keep going, and Hurts still looks good. You know, they still try to doubt him on it. He hasn't had any injuries that really has been that bad for him and had any early interceptions. So Eagles look good.
Yeah.
And my last, I want to give it to the Texans. Even with their rookie quarterback, they're still looking like they're still a team that you would have to worry about to beat this year.
Oh, see, CJ Stroud, second-year quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, I was sitting there as we were talking about this. I was looking it up, and I have written down, I've got the Bills at number 1. You got a 2-0 team. They had the comebacks. Texans at 2. For me, the big thing that I look at that one is I'm kind of like, I actually will have to say, in all honesty, I probably would flip that. I'm going to say that, and because the Bills didn't have a very difficult game. They played the Cardinals in week 1.
Right.
And then of course Houston had the Colts. Okay. So you play a division rival in week 1. That's tough in itself. And then the next week they had the Bills. The Bills had the Dolphins, and then the Texans. The Texans. Who the heck did the Texans play? I forgot. Oh, the Bears. That's right.
Yeah,
the crappy Bears. For me. You've got 2 teams, they had a comeback for the Bills. So I really can't say there's a 1 and 2 there. I would actually put them both at 1.5. Because like I said, the Bills having to make a comeback against Arizona should not have happened. And then this last week with them playing against the Dolphins when they lost Tua. So you're playing against Skylar Thompson. So
right.
I'll probably stick with the Bills at 1, because they were ahead before Tua even went out. They were ahead by 24-10. So yeah, I say Bills, Texans, and then I'm actually going to go with the Saints at 3. So obviously the Saints they've dropped 91 points, you guys, in 2 games. Now I'm not going to give credit for week 1 because it was the Carolina Panthers.
Right.
But that's
scored in every single drive in the last 2 weeks.
Exactly. So that's my big thing. That's why I've got them at number 3. The Utah have 14 offensive possessions and they have 14 scores. So I'm going to stick with the Saints at number 3. And then number 4, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers do not have big wins. They haven't been pretty wins by all means. It's been the Steelers' defense. Mikey, you chose the Raiders, and it's been their defense. I personally, we talked earlier, and I said I probably would have put the Raiders at like 5 or 6. It's hard to do that because they got beat so bad by the Chargers. That's where I'm like, I can't even put them in the top 5. So I've got Pittsburgh at 4 because of their defensive minds and what they've done. They've beat the Broncos, which
They
honestly,
are consistent.
it's consistently horrible.
No, I'm just saying like the Steelers are consistent, not the Broncos. The Broncos.
Yeah, no, the
horrible
Steelers,
forever.
the Steelers, the offense is horrible. Like, let's be honest, you guys.
Right.
You've got Justin Fields at quarterback, and by all means, I still will take Justin Fields over Caleb Williams. I know Terry's not on the show, and he knows I like to give him a hard time about it, but I still don't see
0 turnovers.
anything there. Exactly. Justin Fields has 0 turnovers. He's not being a flash in the pants. He's just playing to his game because he doesn't have a lot of offensive weapons on that team. He's got Najee Harris running back. I mean, he's got Pat Freiermuth at tight end. Come on, guys. Nobody can even spell his damn name. How's he supposed to be any good? But I got
not really a star receiver there either.
Nope. So that's where I've got, like I said, Pittsburgh at 4, and then I put the Eagles at 5. I do think that game against Atlanta, was the Eagles beat the Eagles. Atlanta did not beat the Eagles. Defensively, we were talking about it. They did not show up on that last drive. They were playing a zone coverage the entire time, and they got picked apart. That's what made it easy. And like Mikey said, they needed 13 yards. So that's where I just look at. That's where I have it. You can sit there, and some people will say, "Well, what about Atlanta?" Atlanta's 1-1. Atlanta beat the Eagles. Atlanta lost to Pittsburgh.
All right.
So that's Kansas City. I don't give a shnikes what anybody freaking says. Kansas City Chiefs are getting help from the dang refs once again, and to me, it needs to. We have basically they're forming another dynasty. I've said it week in, week out. Every time we talk about the NFL, yeah, they're just making. All they're doing is just making. Yeah, all they're doing is just making a setup for another dynasty. Yeah. Because they need to have a good guy, and guess what's going to happen, guys? Patrick Mahomes, he's going to end up coming to the end of his contract. He's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to become the villain because eventually, the good guy stays good long enough, he's going to become the villain.
Yep.
So that's who I got. You got at 5 is real difficult because the Raiders obviously beating the Ravens. Baltimore being 0-2. They lost again, on a late last minute field goal to both the Chiefs and the Raiders. So that doesn't say much. When it comes to just because they're 0-2 doesn't mean they're not one of the best teams in the NFL. They really are.
Right.
The Raiders relying heavily on their defense. Offense is just he's playing to what he needs to play, just like Justin Fields. The Steelers, if you want a defensive battle, let's go ahead and watch the Steelers and the Raiders play because I think honestly that is probably 2 of the best defenses in the NFL.
I'll give you that right now, yeah.
So that's what I got. So I got, like I said, Houston, Buffalo, Houston, New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and then Philly. So what's your guys? So we got week. Go ahead, Dupree.
I was saying if you can't beat the refs at home for KC, you're not going to beat the team.
Yeah,
that's just how it is. It was off 2 calls, and that's what it is.
So, just one game that you guys think we should highlight that you guys that they should pay attention to. What do you guys think this week?
What we got?
Make it quick. I'm going to toss this one out there, and I actually think it's going to be Baltimore and Dallas. I think that's going to be a great game to watch because you got two teams both coming off of losses, and Baltimore is going to want to make sure that they put themselves in the hunt. What do you got, Dupree or Mikey?
For me, what's week 1? Where did week 3 go? I just had week 3 up and now I went to week 1.
You got Jets, Patriots, Giants, Browns.
Yeah, so I got two games. First game I have is I'm gonna go with the 49ers and the Rams. They don't have Debo or CMC, so it's gonna be interesting to see how they. Can you guys hear me?
How they? Yeah.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
Yeah. Keep going. We got you.
Your mic just cut.
Oh.
Who do you got, Dupree?
For me, I would have to say it's probably just gonna be. I'll go with the Eagles Saints
Can you hear me now?
because they're coming. Yeah, we can hear you now. But I'll go with the Eagles Saints. The Eagles just came off a loss that they shouldn't have lost.
Versus with
but the
Eagles
Saints came up with it.
against the Saints. Can they stop the Saints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mostly what it was like. Can they stop the Saints coming off that big win they just came off of? Because they're coming off a high horse because they just beat the Cowboys, which the Cowboys are up there for the Big Four when it came to going to the playoffs and going to the finals for the game for the Super Bowl.
Yep. So, but all right, that's what we got. So we're gonna finish it up. So thank you guys, and hope you all have a good evening.